Okay, so I'm going to get started now. And this video will show up on the website. Actually, if you scroll down to the site right now, where it says June 2nd today, it says live recording can be found here. Well, obviously that's not a link yet, but later after the period, I will make sure it is a link to the video I'm recording right now. Now, I've also here put the same links that were up further up higher on the page, and they're the same links that were up here. So this is the instruction document. Basically, if you follow this document from the beginning to the end, it will take you through the tutorial, okay? In addition to that, okay, if you don't want to read the document, you'd rather see it in video form, I've already recorded a video where I walks through the entire tutorial from start to finish. So right from the beginning, right to the end, and you can see here, this video is 59 minutes. So you'll see me in the video do the entire tutorial in 59 minutes. Now, I'm not expecting you guys to necessarily do it that way. Like, you don't have to do it in one sitting, but I'm presenting that as an option. And then what I'm doing right now is I'm also recording it in these 20-minute chunks over the next couple classes. So you can kind of balance how you want to put together doing this tutorial. This tutorial will stand in place of the entire unit's marks. So there won't be problem 1, 2, 3, or 4. None of this will happen in this looping unit. There won't be a case study. There won't be a test. The entire unit will be based on a tutorial. So that's good, because doing this one thing will give you as many marks as all the marks you did in this conditional statements unit, all the marks you did, for example, in the arrays unit, okay? So it puts that on your to-do list, but we're gonna start working on this together right now. So I'm gonna get started by just launching Visual Studio in the background, because that's gonna take a second for it to get going there. It always does, right? Conditional takes a minute for it to get up and running. Now I wanna speak real quickly about this tutorial. It is not a typing exercise. When you get into this document, you'll start to realize as you sort of scroll through, okay, I'm going to build a design, and then there's a bunch of code to type in, and you might, as you see me scrolling this, you might like, ooh, that's a lot of code. Yeah, but I've provided a resource for you to help speed up that process. Essentially, a resource you can copy and paste from. Now, what I worry about, though, is that a lot of you are just going to go and copy and paste it in and not really learn anything, okay? So it's a bit of a balance. It's a balance between copying and pasting and understanding the code you're putting in there. So you'll notice at the top of this, it does mention a lot of this. It says that the tutorial was designed to be done in 1 hour or less. You can see that right on the screen right there. It says you can follow this document or watch a video, or do both. It's up to you. That goes through the tutorial step by step, okay? This project was created in lieu or instead of that last unit looping and some extras / final project stuff. As it says here, you can complete this theoretically in one sitting. You know how I know that's true? At least one of your classmates right now, one of the students who was on this video, is done. They had already done the tutorial. Or you could do it across several sessions, which is what I'm doing with this recording right now, okay? So by the way, I guess I didn't mention it. If you have work to do and you're not going to be following this tutorial right now, it is okay for you to disconnect from Teams right now and get to work on your stuff. At 2:30, if you need help, you could reconnect over Teams and ask questions for me between 2:30 and 2:50, and then again at 3 o'clock for the extra help time. So if you have work to do, you can disconnect and get to work on that. And if you want to follow the tutorial now to start getting started on that, that would be also something I recommend. Okay. Now, as I said, this isn't a typing exercise, right? So one more resource on my website is it says, if you have trouble reading or writing the code, here is a PDF of all the code. So if you open that, it doesn't have all the instructions like what to do and what to change. What this PDF has is just code, right? Just code. And you can even copy and paste that code off the PDF. As you can see, I'm doing right now, right off of the internet. Now, just because you can copy and paste it doesn't mean you necessarily should. It also doesn't mean necessarily that when you copy and paste it, it won't paste properly. Sometimes it'll paste with a typo in it because, you know, it's not perfect, but it might help you to at least get the code ready. And then you might have to clean it up and fix it up a little bit after that. So if you're not the fastest typist, this could be a solution. And you'll see me do this during the tutorial. I'll be doing this a little bit. Okay? All right. So to get started on this tutorial, I'm going to create a brand new project for this tutorial, obviously, to stand in place of the entire looping unit. Last semester, a lot of students used this tutorial to really raise their mark. Consequently, those who didn't do it, it dropped their mark. Okay, I'm going to go next. And I'm going to call this Computer Science 20S tutorial. You can call it whatever you'd like, okay? But I'm going to call it Computer Science 20S tutorial. And I'm going to place it so you guys can see on the desktop. You can see in the background on the screen recording right now that it's creating that folder in the background right now. Stuff we've been working on for the last couple of units. It's building up the project in the background in that folder. Everything's going to be in there. And it's going to get ready to launch Visual Studio and allow me to start building a design and then later adding in code to make it work. Okay. We'll get into how it's going to be handed in later. We don't need to worry about that today. We're just putting in about 20 minutes today of time on this tutorial. Right now, we've been working for about 8 minutes. So we're almost halfway and we haven't even done anything yet. Okay. So here it is. It's my design. So now, like I said before, I could read through these instructions here, or I could follow along on the video, which is silly now. I'm showing a video on a video, but here you see in the video where I did exactly the same thing I'm doing now. I created the tutorial and then get started on it. So I'm going to use these instructions right here, okay? And I'm going to scroll down and it says form design. It says create a Visual Studio project and make this design. So what I've given you is a look at what it looks like. I've told you what they are, things like forms, labels, and as it mentions here, you're going to be coding things and using things that you've not yet used in this course. So there's going to be some new things like this thing called a combo box and this thing called a list box. So the list box and the combo box you haven't used before. So these are going to be new items. Now, what I've done over here to make sure that you grab the right ones is I've pointed them out here. Here's combo box, here's list box. So if you're under common controls, it should be easy for you to find these things, okay? I also should probably mention right now that for those students who aren't able to use Visual Studio at home, might be thinking, oh, how am I gonna do this? I'm gonna, after I've done the recording, talk a little bit about that to those students, or you can send me an email and I'll explain it in email. You're obviously not going to be doing this for your tutorial. You'll be doing something different. All right, the other thing I've given here is the names for all these things, so you know what to name them. All right, so it's time for me to get started. I'm going to need 1, 2 labels. So let's start with that. 1 label. All right, I'll let that. I'm going to need 2 buttons as well. 2 labels, so 1 label, 2 label. 1 button, 2 buttons. What else am I going to need? I'm going to need this thing called a combo box. So again, I'm going to go here to common controls, combo box. And I'm going to need this thing, which looks like a text box, but it's not. It's a list box. So I'm going to grab that thing, a list box. I've grabbed the things I needed, which was label, button, two buttons actually, two labels, a combo box, and a list box. Things I needed for my design. Now, as it says, you're going to change the properties, obviously. So this first thing is going to say, welcome to prize grab. Now, you'll notice on here it says it does not have to look exactly like mine. As long as it's close, that's probably fine. So I'm going to select this and I'm going to go to text and I'm going to say, welcome to prize grab. Okay. In my other label, I'm going to say, select how many prizes to collect. Okay. For my two buttons, I'm going to have them say, start the game and create unique prize values. And okay, so I've changed all the text properties that I need to. Maybe I'll also take a second to resize things a little bit. So I'll put that button down there, start to move things around a little bit, build up a design at this point, okay? I notice with this one, I seem to have made a typo. So I'm going to fix that in a second. Prize values. And I misspelled values too. Okay. Select how many prizes to collect, and I'm going to put that beside it. Which means I think I'll make these a bit wider. Welcome to prize grab. This is not necessary, but I think I'll make that label a little bit bigger like it shows here. Again, I don't need to. Also, I'm going to make the top of the form say prize grab. Okay, and I'm going to change this font to something bigger and maybe bold. This is a design process right now, right? This is not a coding process. This is something we learned all the way back in Unit 2 of this course, and I've seen everybody able to do this. Everyone was able to do this part of this course, even before the coding got started. So if you've been finding the coding challenging, this is at least something I know all of you could have done, is done this version of a design, okay? And I'm going to shrink the form down. And I'm going to set the form border style to just a fixed tool window. And I'm going to have it start in the center of the screen. Just a couple of quick, simple things, and I'm just going to run it once just to see that it actually looks similar to the design in the instructions. And we're well underway on this tutorial at this point. I got 6 minutes left on my timer, so we can start a little bit of the coding at this point. As soon as it decides to run for me. Okay, so there it is. Doesn't do anything, but at least it's up and running, and it looks like the one that is right there. Now, before I get to the coding, as we've learned once we were getting ready to start coding, it's important to name things like this. FRM start. And as a matter of fact, you could even copy, you could try copying and pasting right now. So I could take this form and paste in the name. Unfortunately, it copied the quote marks. So I'm gonna, whoops. If I tried to use the quote marks, it would yell at me that it can't use those. So I'm gonna get rid of the quote marks. And then it should at least allow me to name my form FRM start. Okay. Now I'll try this with LBL title. So I'm gonna try to copy and paste this. I don't know if the copy paste is really saving me time here. So the next one, CBO amount, I'm just going to type this. So CBO combo amount. Okay, let me try this one. LBL select. for this label. LBL select. What else? BTN create and BTN start. Let's do the two buttons. BTN create, BTN start. What's left? Buttons are done. This last one, this one is a little bit tricky. That looks like a 1, but it's actually an L for list. List or LST prizes. LST prizes. I'm going to do a quick check up here at the top of the properties window by clicking the little drop down arrow. And I look over my objects, my buttons, my combo box, my form, my labels, and my list box. And they all have good names with those 3 letters at the front. This is stuff you've been working on now for 3 units. So it really shouldn't be that hard, but it's an important step before you go to code. I'm also going to hit save just to make sure everything's all saved. And now I'm ready to move in the last 4 minutes of this tutorial to finally getting to the spot where I can actually start putting some code in. Okay, so that's a good start already on this tutorial. Okay, this is ready for me to work on next time. If I needed to, I could even go to the video and you would have seen in the video me doing the same thing, naming and building this thing. All right, next up is the next set of instructions is I'm going to put in code for this form. So in order to code it, I'm going to have to code things like the buttons and stuff like that. Or as you can see here, there's a big comment that could be put at the top. Okay. This comment is actually not necessary. It says all the places where there is the word extras, you're not really required to put that in unless you're looking for 100% on this tutorial. Then you should put that in there. But one thing your comments are going to need is your name and stuff like that. Any project that's turned in should have its name on it. So yeah, I could double click a button to get to code, but another way I can get to code without even double clicking anything is if I go up here to the view menu in Visual Studio, right at the top is view code. Right beside it is view designer. So that's another way to shift between code, view code, and view designer. However, once you have the code open as a tab, now it's just really easy to click between the 2 tabs. I no longer need my toolbox, so I'm going to unpin it. I no longer need my properties window. I'm going to unpin it. That way, when I get to code, it's easier for me to see the code. It's easier for me to type in my name, to type in the date, to type in this is the looping tutorial. And if I wanted to, I could even put in more comments like you see right here. I could try and copy them right off of the instruction sheet, which seems to be working fine. I could do that. Or I could also use that spot, which is just the code. Copy it and paste it right into my project. So like I said, this isn't a typing exercise. Some of this can be done with some copying and pasting, okay? This is the looping and extras tutorial. Now, I don't need all these comments, right? I don't need all of this. So I might even want to get rid of some of this, right? Just to clean her up there. Okay, we got 1 minute left. Let's try and code one more thing here. If I scroll down, I need this one global variable, which is the largest number of prizes this game could have, which is 100. Now, you should know from our unit on variables that global variables go under the words public partial class. So again, even though you're copy paste, you have to kind of use some of the things you've learned here. So if I go underneath public partial class, that's where I can paste in that code. Okay. Time for one more. Scrolling down, it looks like there's also some code here for form load. Now again, if you hadn't been paying attention in class, you wouldn't know that to get to form load, what you do is go to your design and double click the form. Usually in the bottom corner here is a good spot to double click. Double click the form, and that's where I can enter the code for form load. In a second, you're going to hear my alarm go off. Ready? There it is. Which means I'm not going to do this code today. I'm going to wait and do that code in the 20 minutes I'm going to record tomorrow for this tutorial. So I'm going to turn off the video now and get that video ready for our website.